What is happening, crypto world? I thought I'd show you an unbox of a pretty little silver coin. I don't think you can buy them anymore. It's funny though, with the price, the exchange rate the way it is, and the conversion rate. As soon as I bought it, it was already not in profit, but had appreciated in value. Basically, things like that I find are pretty cool. You can't buy them, they become rare. Things that are scarce in supply, they may increase in value, who knows? Or they might be valued, say, per weight. It's hard to say what will happen. I'm going to bring you some stuff you're probably not going to want to hear, geopolitical based, and the main reasons why we are all extremely lucky to hold Hex, to know about Hex, to know about Pulsechain, to know about the Richard Hart ecosphere, basically. Because if you have a look, things are getting pretty damn weird in the world, financially speaking. Looking at the financial markets, we've got central bank digital currencies. There's lots of talk about them. This is a Google search from today, and there is, let's just say there's more than enough to indicate what is coming in the future. Now, the next thing we can look at is, I think this was from Coin Bureau. He had an article basically going over what could be coming in the cryptocurrency sphere. He linked to all these articles. I had a look at what he was saying. It was valid. I mean, it says the BIS, what is that? Business International Settlements, possibly? BIS. What does BIS actually stand for? Let's have a quick look. You can tell I'm prepared for this one. The Bank for International Settlements. So maybe it's like the bank that the banks use to settle their shit. They're even talking about the future monetary system and how it could indeed include a central bank digital currency of some sort. So we can see there's changes coming because change is inevitable. Change runs with time, with parallel with time. And to experience time is to experience change. There is no question in that. Now we have India's largest cement maker circumventing the US petrodollar in a Russian coal deal for yuan. That's really different. It has never been done before. This is possibly the reason why we're seeing conflicts brewing around the world, because there's uncertainties about what the new financial system is going to look like, in my opinion. This is the source article basically from that particular article. It just says exclusive, India's top cement maker paying for Russian coal in Chinese yuan. Previously, this may not have been possible. It may even be circumventing sanctions, I believe, was another aspect of this. So at the same time, you have countries borderline circumventing sanctions, trading one good for another good instead of going through the traditional petrodollar. We see a financial system where auto manufacturers are basically not on the last legs, but in a longer term time frame, they're being phased out in essence. And to me, this makes no sense, but for environmental reasons, we can see this is where the world is headed. We can see that, again, this is the source article, Bloomberg. It warns of car market collapse if electronic vehicles don't get cheaper. Now, we have seen large players like Tesla roll out very successfully, because I believe the Tesla was the largest selling car manufacturer in the US, more so than Toyota, which is an amazing achievement given they're purely electronic vehicle based. But we can see that this shift towards a new environmentally friendly, changed financial system is going to be like something we've never experienced before. I mean, it's completely new. It's completely alien to everyone. We're going to have systems in place that no longer play by the traditional rules, where the US petrodollar is the major currency, while at the same time the US petrodollar is going to be the strongest currency, while at the same time the US petrodollar is inflated to shit. And during this rollout, we're going to see traditional economies be absolutely crushed and decimated in the name of for global reasons, to stop global warming, for environmental reasons. That's the words I'm looking for. It is becoming very strange, to say the least. Basically, a recession is 2 quarters or 2 months of economic decrease. Now, I believe technically it's already the US, the largest economy in the world, is already in a recession. Not a depression, just a recession. Again, this is the source article. It says here, tracker shows US economy is likely in a recession already. Now, it's quarters, that's right. Second quarter running negative, that equals a recession. Now, at the same time, we see the traditional markets being probed in ways like never before. We see the economy shifting towards this green energy, output, while at the same time having coal power plants charge your electric vehicle, but phasing out combustion engine vehicles. So what does that mean for oil? If you're not an oil producing nation, if you're not using oil in the production of electricity or energy, mind you, oil does produce a lot of things like plastics and medical equipment, for example, but most people are not as aware of that versus when you fill up, your car every day. So what I'm trying to say is this unknown future that we're progressing into is going to have, in my opinion, my analysis, some very disturbing effects on our traditional markets. We're going to see extremely high rates of pain and suffering financially in the first world, and literally life and death in the third world. We're going to see higher rates. We're going to see more expensive prices everywhere. We're going to see higher amounts of repayments being made to banks and the like through the higher rates. Now, traditionally, markets are configured to where you have a higher rate of interest. You might offer better, more attractive investments. But at the same time, if your dollar is your purchasing power is decreasing significantly, then what are you left exactly to invest in? This is the weird thing I'm noticing with the current financial system. The banks back in 2020, they took their limits required, their reserves required down to 0%. So fractional reserve being 10,000 turning to 100,000 is now 0 turning into infinite. I'm not sure how that exactly works. And rates are increasing, prices are increasing, and then on top of all of that, we've got supply shortages. And on top of all of that, we're moving towards electronic vehicles, for example. There was an article the other day explaining how robots are ever more present in, say, factory lines, for example. Think of Amazon. And their ability to replace human workers. So what are the humans going to be left to do? You would say, well, to fix the robots, to maintain them and things like that. But realistically, what is that going to do? I can't help but feel like this test we've all gone through recently with the lockdowns, for example, whether you're essential or non-essential, was almost intentional by larger institutions that would monitor how this all goes and practice the rollout of this. Now, The article the other day was saying that oil would hit up to as high as $300 a barrel. Now we've got another counter argument basically saying it's more likely to fall to $45 a barrel by the end of 2023. Maybe the 300 article was indicating it may wick up and spike quite fiercely, but I'm more inclined to agree with this analysis where it's going to possibly go lower due to recession, lack of consumption of demand. There could be supply intervention where OPEC collude together as they do, although it's illegal in every other market. But with oil, it's okay. And on top of that, we see the extremely high dollar price. So generally, I think the higher the dollar, the lower the price of oil. So all indications are that we're going to have an extremely high US dollar. Basically, here's the basics of the US dollar, how rates could affect the US dollar. So higher rates, higher US dollar relative to other dollars. So we can see that here. It's actually, the euro is, surprisingly enough, I thought was usually pretty strong versus the US dollar in times of economic turmoil. He's actually sliding to a 20-year low against the dollar. So what does that mean? You're getting a lot more. So if I'm here in Australia and I have $1 Australian, I'm getting like $1.45 or something for every dollar. So for instance, if you're staking in Hex or in cryptocurrency, you've got the USDC, for example, is $1, then that's changed over to Australian dollars. It's higher. So that's good. But it's a very, very, very strange time. I would hate to see it lead into an actual war because of the economic turmoil. I don't think it will, because it would be like world ending. But you just never know, because we're seeing things that I'm aware of that I've never experienced before in my lifetime. Now, previously there was other recessions. There was 2008. That was a slightly different story. This is the flow-on effect from that, But yeah, it's just really strange at the moment with the quantitative tightening. This push towards centrally controlled digital currencies on top of supply lines that are becoming non-existent, on top of whole sectors of the economy they're talking about phasing out. It's like, it's probably gonna be, I hate to say it, a good thing, because you look at it like the steam engine became the combustion engine. So obviously there was a technological advance, a step forward. There was like old ways of transmitting power, then they upgraded to the new way. Think about, when there was that EMP blast back in the 1800s, there was I think telegram wires, and that was about it. They blew out. But today we have phone lines, power lines, all sorts of other electronic devices. So the amount of innovation that we as a species have achieved has generally come about through change, as I said early on. So as time increases, so does change. I just wonder where and what we're moving towards. I believe cryptocurrency is going to be a strong player in this future economy. I can't see the US dollar and that legacy financial system absolutely breaking. I can see it being extremely tested. I can see rough times ahead for the everyday person. The top 1% of the wealth holders will be relatively unaffected. If anything, they'll have lots of liquidity to be able to buy up things for pennies on the dollar. But for everyday people, we're going to get squeezed like there's no tomorrow. Unless you have something to not hedge against this, but to outperform everything else, something that can provide really good yield, trustless yield, and something that will be in place before they try and switch over to this digital central bank digital currency. Now, I'm not sure how they'll do it, but you can see for things like the economy, we need to save the economy. And to save the economy, you need to save the planet. And to save the planet, you need to be green and things like that. And it's not like we don't need to pollute. It's like we need to stop functioning normally. Like we need to give away production of like motor vehicles. And so if your livelihood or your country depends on that, you're going to sacrifice that. And for what? For an unknown. For the great push towards electric vehicles, which in the end, unless there's enough clean technology to replace it, it's not actually all that much of a difference. It's different in its appearance, but when you analyze it deeper, it's the same shit because you need to use the same power. It's a little bit cleaner because there's no power coming out of the tailpipe, but the power that you're using to charge is the power plant emitting emissions. So what is the point of that? I mean, we have a look here. Coal is making a comeback as the world thirsts for energy. It says energy starved. Well, I can't even read the entire article. It's behind a paywall. But it's basically saying energy starved world is turning to coal and natural gas as oil shortages are exacerbated. So we're going to get rid of combustion engine, petrol combustion engines, and we're going to get electric vehicles. But the electric vehicles, when they charge, they're going to be run by coal. And you're going to pay for this as a taxpayer, and you're going to follow the regulation. And if you can't afford this new electric vehicle, too bad. You're going to have to pay a big tax on your older model, because as the older model increases, then you are going to pay your green tax bill that's going to be put forward. And although nothing will actually change, what will happen is you pay more taxes on everything. That's how we roll as the tax mafia. Yeah. It's really fucked up shit. Again, this is quite negative. It's the reality though. From my lens, this is what I am seeing. This is what I am envisioning coming forward. Now, I shouldn't be laughing because it's pretty serious when you think about it. But take a step back. Would you have ever believed 3 years ago that you would ever be thinking all the time whether or not it's safe to leave your house because you might get sick, or whether or not you can drive interstate, or take a plane and go on a holiday to your favorite destination in the world? Would you have ever thought with any doubt that there could be a risk just by leaving your house? That has been ingrained in us all, and it's caused huge amounts of anxiety, I think. If that can be done, what else can be done? You don't want to pay, a tax on a fuel tax, but you'll probably pay a tax in the purchase of a car that is not electric. So maybe the price of petrol cars go up to start off with, and it gets to the point where it's that expensive to buy any of these older technologies. You're better off buying the new technologies for cheaper. And it's probably how it's going to play out. Similar with a central bank digital currency, they might make it almost impossible for anyone to spend if you do not hold this particular asset, because they might replace out the dollar with the digital dollar. The digital dollar then becomes a central bank digital currency, because maybe the banks roll out that the digital dollar that is in your account is actually turned into programmable money, and your wallet now is linked to your, like it is now, to your account number, to your tax number, tax file number, or social security number, whatever country you're in. Maybe that's how things get rolled out in the future. And if you don't have the right permits, for example, to leave your house on your phone, then you won't, and the phone might have a GPS signal in it, and you might have geospatial fencing in it, and you could have passes why do you need to travel today? have you paid your carbon offset credits and allowed for your dirty vehicle to produce the amount of carbon? So if you go over that threshold, then that's not possible. And also, you can only buy from this. You don't get any meat this week because, you know, meat's a dirty outcome. You have to eat insects or bugs. You got nothing, and you'll be happy. Like, you can see where I'm going with this. I mean, it's been said many different ways, many different variants. So this is my take on it. I constantly analyze this daily just to see what's happened and where we're slowly progressing forward. I've probably got a few blind spots, but basically it's every day there's change. As time goes on, we experience the change, which is time. We can see during this time cryptocurrency is obviously going through some teething, which I call it. We're seeing large amounts of uncertainty, bringing about regulation. I call it unwarranted regulation. I call it unnecessary regulation. Others will argue against me and say it's completely necessary. We must protect everyone. And all cryptocurrencies are a scam and you should not touch them. You should only touch this, like, you know, central bank digital currency, or you should only touch the digital dollar, or cash is dirty because it can be used for nefarious things. This is the arguments I hear constantly. This is, I think, the pushback we need to explain to other people, that if you are not in cryptocurrency, the asset that is just crushing every other asset you can think of, even though there's been huge pullbacks, if you were in cryptocurrency early and arguably doing it correctly, not trading, not margin trading and things like that, not giving your crypto to other people, not losing your keys to exchanges who then ultimately fail, if you're doing that correctly, you have found an asset better than hard metals, better than physical assets, like in terms of performance, that can actually help and assist you. Because we've all been told that we've gone to a school and been taught, most of us, how to, you know, what's the best way to run your finances, you know, and then you get the rules in place as put out by, like, say, the banks, and then the banks have to play by their rules given to them by certain regulators. And the whole system is designed like that. We're molded in that way. We are taught, almost programmed in a way. Then you see, when you think about it, did people go to university? Did those people invent university? Like, if someone can come up with a new innovation that can outperform everything, that can allow for your financial freedom. So Bitcoin, was that not an innovation on top of the legacy finance system? I would argue it is. Every other cryptocurrency since then, has it been an innovation or an attempt at innovation? I would argue it is. The current system in place, the legacy system, would tell you they're a bunch of shit. They're a bunch of junk coins, they're shit coins, don't worry about them. It's not in our teachings yet. I highly doubt there's many courses that relates to cryptocurrency in how to, I guess, invest in them, or how to use them. There's probably courses, I think there's MIT ones, like how cryptocurrency blockchain works, and that aspect of it. But when you look at it, most of the innovation in place is actually done when a project or product is rolled out and people invest in it. or take part in it or buy the coins and see how they perform. Because think about it, back in 2008, when Bitcoin was invented and rolled out, was there a university course explaining what Bitcoin was and how to mine it, how to have it in your wallet, where to even sell it or where to even buy it? I don't think there was. But yet the people who were lucky to get into it early and hold it all the way through, they could probably be the ones that would go back and create a university course about this. But would they? Probably not. Same with other cryptocurrencies. If you are able to find a cryptocurrency in this market and maybe a fork of another cryptocurrency in this market that will give you the financial freedom you can only dream of, then most likely there is not a university course about it, because otherwise people would simply take a university course or a college degree and do it, and everybody would be rich. It's the same way economists can predict certain things, but the way that it actually plays out is different, and most of the time the economists are maybe the ones teaching economics, or they don't work as an economist, or they don't actually have much money relative to their ability to predict everything in the entire economy. One would think a specialist in the economy should be raking it in. Do they even know about how cryptocurrency works? Does their theories apply to cryptocurrency? I mean, you look at Hart's law versus any other theory out there, it's different. It's not taught in universities. It might well be a lot more accurate. It might lead on to other things to explain how other markets are priced in, but in essence, it's innovation that allows for us all to succeed, to be free. Now, I'd like to think on the back of all this, we can actually provide for our fellow humans and even animals, or just the planet in general. If we get to the point where we're that financially free, we can just heal everything and everyone that needs it. But because clearly the way it's been going, from what I've seen in my short time on this planet, is corruption, greed, what else? That jealousy, those three main things, like power, those three main, I'll call them those three main things. They're just things that tear the planet apart. We see the military industrial complex, we see the petrodollar, we see big pharma, we see now the social engineering aspect of it all, like big tech. Is it all for the benefit of humanity? Or is it all for the benefit of those who created it and rolled it out on everyone? So it's almost like the government, generally speaking, wishes to rule over everyone for the benefit to them, which is money. So they do it for money. And yeah, it's crazy. But it's not like, oh, we should just give everything away to everyone. No, I'm saying capitalism works. It crushes every other system that I know of. Unless there's like some alien system we don't know of. And then if you get that successful, surely you get to the point where you can start helping others. Like you see charities, you see surgeons or doctors that they donate their time to other more needing people as a form of charity. Like it's just amazing what this capitalism does, like what the West has been able to achieve. And we see people openly against it, saying, oh, that system's stupid, let's like be all socialist or something and just let's be communist, that's just retarded. Like, I don't think people really appreciate everything they have. And I think we're going to have to experience huge pains to actually appreciate what the fuck is going on. I think those who are lucky enough, like ourselves, in cryptocurrency, or other people looking into cryptocurrency, those lucky enough, we might be able to be the people that changes the world in the future for the better. Because as time continues, change comes. And from what I've seen, the people in charge generally, I think they think they have our best interests at heart, but I don't think they're actually, functionally, it's not working. I'm seeing things getting worse. I'm seeing just things getting more expensive, and when you literally, in some cases, exchange your time for money, your energy is money, your economic energy. Like, you only have so many hours in the day, so unless you can figure out some way to earn income beyond that, you're going to be limited to the amount of hours you can work in a set period of time. And good luck working more than 24 hours in a day if you're getting paid by the hour. Simple as that. But yeah, so this is sort of my thoughts, my inner deepest most thoughts in regarding to these topics. And as I see things, I point them out. I point out what could happen, what is happening, or what has happened in the past. We see more people holding Bitcoin. So maybe people are realizing that it's not your keys, not your coins, and they're actually getting a wallet address and putting it into their physical possession, although it's online below. So we have Celsius Network paid a total of 120 million, and looks like their liquidation price for Bitcoin, they only mentioned Bitcoin, is just under $5,000. So if Bitcoin gets lower than 5k, for pain on top of pain. That's a pretty low target though. I wonder how long they've been around, what the entry prices were, etc, etc. What platforms they were, what they were doing to earn interest, and how much interest they had, allowing their profits to basically decrease, you could possibly say, their entry point relative to the amount of crypto they held, and then plus their profits that they made, less their amount they dished out as expenses, income to other people. But yeah, that's stuff I find interesting. US has become number one for Bitcoin mining because China's decided, not to be the number one miner for whatever reason. And then at the same time, China's all anti-cryptocurrency, yet they've got a digital yuan rolled out. It's getting larger, and they've got, beginning NFT stuff in a music app. So they're actually looking to use NFTs in possibly a business like manner, which is generally what they tend to do. So you'll see they're quite good at running their businesses. Although we hate to admit it, it is what it is. But again, it's for the benefit of the Chinese government. This one I was not sure on. Basically said 150 million raised in cryptocurrency to support its financing of water projects. So I'm not sure whether they've purchased that amount of cryptocurrency or what exactly that means. But it's clear, governments are figuring out they can create their own stable coins, or banks are figuring out they can create their own stable coins, then using that as a cheaper means to transfer money to destinations, basically. Maybe there's less fees, maybe it's more convenient, maybe it's more secure, I don't know. Maybe it's just quicker and cheaper, who knows. that is about it on the cryptocurrency news. It's very quiet. Again, we see we got another lender pauses withdrawals as the market crash takes its toll. Yeah, I'm not sure if the bottom's in. When it crashed down to like, I think 18.7, was it 17.9? I can't remember. And it almost hit that other leverage point, and it almost dropped down further, which would have triggered further liquidity. It could have potentially dropped down to like 15k, boom, like that, wick down, and then that would have been devastating. And then you would have seen like a slower recovery in terms of price. But I'm just waiting for the next thing to pop. Basically, just under huge stress test right now. We're seeing who is crypto, who isn't crypto. We're seeing recession kick in. They keep saying, I mean, Biden's trying to say it's nothing inevitable about it yet. Factually, it might already be in. Not to mention the real inflation calculations are like almost double what they claim to be. So take that into account on what that could do to your purchasing power if you're liquid. Take into account the struggle you're going to be feeling on your payments on loans for people that are in that position. Credit cards, car loans, business loans, leases, mortgages, rent, and everything in between. We're going to be suffering. So we're going to get prepared. And the best way to prepare, in my opinion, is actually cryptocurrency. But not just any cryptocurrency. It's going to be a cryptocurrency that provides you with trustless yield. And gives you the ability to just interact with you on the contract. No counterparty risk. No risk of like getting scammed because it's like under fake contract. So many times I've seen scams where people fall for online scams. I can't help but think like if they just had them and the contract, there's no risk there. Okay, maybe you type it wrong. Just double check what you're typing. But beyond that, there's no actual. It solves so many problems. It provides trustless yield. It can with a fork of Ethereum coming and an entire network to play on, the testnet. It's gonna provide like a new utopia of cryptocurrency, and people aren't even gonna talk about it. Like I don't think there's a note that goes on the U.S. president's desk every day. We're like, check out this fucking hex shit, this Pulsechain shit. What the fuck? You know, not yet. Anyway, not yet. Once everything starts crushing, maybe they will be like, let's check out this crypto shit. But for the time being, in all seriousness, for the time being, I just don't know what's happening. They honestly have no idea about. They've never even heard of hex. They've never even heard of Pulsechain. They like can barely use Ethereum FraudFi. They can barely use the Ethereum FraudFi, and or they just like sucking middleman dick, like giving their money away and hoping that they get it back one day. When in the terms and conditions it says in black and white, this is not your coins anymore because you own your keys. Hopefully that helps someone. But yeah, in closing, central bank digital currencies out the wazoo, everywhere as far as the eye can see. They're coming. Regulation is encroaching on our freedoms. Some of it makes sense, some of it makes no sense at all. Oh my god, what is it called? The Bank for International Settlements has like fired off their missile, and it's like heat seeking, and it's like the target is a central bank digital currency. So when they hit, it's gonna get rolled out. So they've like fired it off. The missile is like kicking in, and now it's tracking. It's getting ready to hit. So that's pretty much what's coming. Whether we know it or not. But the question is whether and how it's going to be used. Like, is it just going to be digital dollar accounting entries, or is it going to be the full-on digital dollar accounting entries with restrictions and knowing everything about you, and then limiting what you can and can't spend on? You know, I don't mind the digital dollar in parallel with cryptocurrencies, in parallel with like whatever else the future could hold. I don't know, like Pulsechain or some shit. But to roll out this with the lack of understanding from in the field, with these people that try and control and rule our lives, and they don't, to me, they haven't got our best intentions in heart at all. They just want to get it under control. They can make some money on it somehow, they think, or they can stop us all from becoming more financially free, which is insane, because why would you want people not to be financially free if you're in a capitalist system? Isn't that the goal? Like, unless you're trying to change the system in place. And yeah, and then we've got like, you know, supply and demand, when they're exchanging the, you know, the unit of exchange is no longer dollars. They say, no, we're not going to use US dollars anymore. We're going to use like Chinese yuan. So they're going to exchange whatever currency they have, put it into yuan, exchange that for Russian coal. Because, you know, that's like what you do apparently now in this day and age. Because who cares about, you know, all the great things that have been like rolled out in the world, all the great innovation, all the great the financial system. I gotta say, for its flaws, it's pretty good. Without it, would all be fucked. Like, we would even have like running electricity and water without, like, you know, a decent financial system in place. Otherwise, it would be like the Wild West of, you know, would you like to go to the bank and they're like, oh no, you don't own your house anymore, sorry, we lost the records, oh too bad. What the fuck? The government comes in there, get out. Yeah, here's some money, piss off. You'd be like, no, what the no, I want some shit that's like my property and provably my property. So I'd like to have a functioning system. So I'm not like saying the system's that fucked. I'm saying that we want a system in place that works for us, not like against us. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, these people don't like this system because this system is, to me, it's better, but to them, it's like, oh, it's imposing on them, so they're gonna bypass that system to fuck this system. And I'm like, oh my god. So it's all based basically on the military-industrial complex, and then the companies and countries, compete militarily, and then money becomes a war. And then we see this. And then we get told that auto manufacturers, you know, we're not gonna have any petrol engines anymore, so you're all fucked. We've got EVs coming. Don't mind where the lithium comes from for the batteries, or how the petrodollar basically governs the world. We're gonna do away with all that. We're gonna have increased slaves getting cheap lithium from like dirty Chinese mines somewhere, or dirty China, African countries, you know, with no standards and shit like that. And that's how we're going to fund everything. Like, what? Oh, and at the same time, we're going to put all of the Western first world countries out of a job, a lot of people, and they're going to have to learn to code. And you're like, hang on, wait. You're telling us what? It's like, no, we're not, you know, but we're here to help you because we're from the government. And yeah, it's like, oh, you're not in a recession's coming. And it's like, oh, we checked the numbers, we're actually in a recession. If only we knew that. Then we get told, you know, the price of oil could be from $300 to $45. It's like the average is like what it is now. Okay, cool. And then on top of all this, green energy is the best, but we've run into some supply chain issues, so we're gonna have to go back to coal. But some people have closed down all the coal plants, and now the price of energy's skyrocketing. Oh my god. But they can't figure out, like, you know, cool ways to, like, innovative ways to. That's not the topic, man. Energy. Energy. You say the US dollar rules the world. I say energy and the way energy is produced. Because if you rolled out some crazy tech that like didn't require any, that you put in less than what you got out, if you rolled that out and you could free up the entire world's supply on energy, you'd probably have some issues because some crazy weapons would be developed. But B, you'd probably have like a freer world as a whole. But would we be mature enough not to destroy ourselves with this bickering bullshit we have on this planet? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that's about all I want to cover. Honestly, if Hex continues to do what it says, I have no indication it's not going to. I have not heard anything otherwise. When Pulsechain comes out, and Hex is on 2 chains, when the PRC20s do their thing, it could be a chance for a lot of us who know about Hex early, and early I mean now, in Pulsechain now, we could get the God mode cheat activated in our lives to have a lot of economic energy. Then once we amass this economic energy, it's going to be up to us to empower the world to fix this shit. I'm not saying we take all the world's problems on our shoulders and, you know, we individually are the reason why the world's fucked, although I could strongly state that. We need to look in the mirror and go, what the fuck is up? But with great power comes great responsibility, is what I'm thinking, what I'm inclined to lean towards, more realistically, because there's only, you know, otherwise we should just all come out and become Elon Musk and just change the world that way, but that's very unlikely to happen. What I'm more inclined to think will happen is we'll amass a great fortune, I would say, and then we can maybe donate to a charity, we could help at a charity, we could help other people, we could, I don't know. It's going to be crazy to see. Everyone's free, everyone's got your free will, you do whatever you want with your riches, but like, it's just something to think about. Yeah, like, there's good in this world, you know. Alright, that's it. Signing out. Thank you for watching.